Ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ bájò, olúwa mi ò dìde ojú
The Ashen Forge.
ṣẹ̀kẹ̀rẹ̀.
The Ashen Forge.
Hello and welcome to the Ashen Forge. I am Phantom X, joined as always by Diggs and the legendary Neurotoxin. How y'all doing?
Great.
Doing all right. Been busy doing a little bit of this and that and playing some roguelikes and a little bit of this and that and a little bit of this and that and fighting off the ants. Apparently it's been real hot. There have been a whole lot of ants, and so it's been a whole lot of this and that, really. But a good sort of this and that within the ants for the most part. I'm soon going to be getting back into learning code a bit better, because apparently knowing how to do code really well is something that's lacking in all industries. So even if I'm doing design, I want to know how to code and understand what the code is doing. So yep, that's
This and that.
what's going on. And I too will be turning somewhere between 25 and 50 in a couple of days here.
25 and 50. That's a good range.
Yeah, somewhere between. It's still younger than Diggs, but somewhere in the range of 25 to 50.
Yeah, you are probably the youngest one here. So all
I
right.
think I'm older than you.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
I have a little quick dance story. I was Friday night. I went to West Coast Swing. I stopped dancing West Coast Swing 20 years ago, but they had a little party at the studio Friday night, so I stayed, and they said I wasn't in their system. So I would get a free beginner class and I would get to go to the social for free. So I went. And one of the instructors was a young lady, looked to be about 20. Her name, well, her name was similar to the daughter of a high school friend of mine who also dances. The whole family dances West Coast Swing and competes. So I asked her first name and she told me, and I asked her her mother's name and she was like, "No, that's not my mother's name." And I said, "Oh, I confused you with um, the youngest daughter of my friend." She was like, "Oh, I know who you're talking about. No, I'm not that good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But no, I'm the older sister is like my age." And I said, "Yeah, I was wondering because I think the youngest sister is like 18, I think. So I don't know why she'd be all the way across country by herself." She said, "Oh, but I'm 23." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm 60. So, 23, 18. That's You both look like you could be 20.
damn.
I can't tell the difference between 23 and 18. I can't tell the difference.
Damn.
Because I'm old. But she was very proud to be 23. Graduated from college. She's an adult now. I'm like, yeah, but same thing as graduating from high school to me. So that's what happens when you get that old.
Damn, I ain't ready for that. All right. Bard. The showcase everyone's been waiting for. Wednesday. When is it? Wednesday at 11 Pacific? I think it's when they usually do it, right?
Yes.
The
Usually at 11. Not usually on Wednesdays, but yes.
Yes, that was the a lot of chatters were they delayed because they didn't do Friday and instead waited until the end of the month.
I wonder what would cause that delay.
I don't know. What's that?
Do they have
Cryptic?
the most important part?
What's that?
Bard is not the important part of Wednesday.
What's the important part?
Alpha 2 date.
Ah, they did say that. Yes, they did say they would be giving that to us.
No, Brian said, I hope I have enough information that we can give you a date. I hope by the end of the month we'll have enough information and we've done enough stuff that I'll be able to give you a date.
Yes,
But
that's correct. There was no promise.
that's not what the videos I've been seeing. All the content creators have been saying, we're getting a date.
Now, what do
Okay.
you think would? We'll pause on the Bard here. What do you think would happen if they don't?
People still
So
would not understand that dates get pushed.
some people would get angry. Some people would be like, whatever, these things happen. Things are always getting delayed. It's fine. It's taking this long. There'll be responses in various different ranges and extremes. And ultimately, it's not really a big deal. If they totally miss third quarter, that'll be, egg on their face, but you can wipe egg off.
Yeah. I mean, they're working on stuff. We know they're working on stuff. They're showing us stuff. That's the most important part, I think.
Actually, cream pie to the face, because we know you can wash that off. Otherwise, you've just been a cream pie American after the first one of those extra live streams. Is that one of those? Is extra life going on right now, or am I thinking of a different one?
No, that would be in November, right? I think
Yeah.
Extra Life is in
Yeah.
November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But Steven gets a pie in the face every time, I think.
So
yeah.
you
So
obviously you both understand dates, but I mean, I think that ends up poorly if
That's
they
why you
don't,
don't announce that's why you don't announce dates to
or
the
you
public.
don't announce that you're going to announce a date.
I mean, you know, that's the danger of trying to be transparent.
Yeah, which is a whole other show too that I could talk about. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
now, if they're going to release character creator and say, well, we got something out in third quarter, and then Alpha 2 begins, maybe in like October or November or something. Even if they announce that today, do you think that would help people at all or go over well? Or is anything but Alpha 2 starting within Q3 going to rile people up? I've taken
Some
off time. I got ready for this. Blah blah blah.
some people will always be riled. You can't please all of the people all the time. But no, I think it depends on what the details are. Um,
I mean, I would think yes, it would be at least offering something to offer something like that and delay. But I mean, we still have 2 more months. But if they don't announce a date Wednesday, I mean, I guess they could always in between live streams. But I mean, that starts to kind of tell you a little bit, right? If so,
yeah. I mean, again, trying to give a date like this 6 months out, that's like you can't really give dates 6 months out. That's not the way game development works. I mean, if somebody gives you a date 6 months out, well, even 3 months out, you should expect it to be pushed. But especially 6 months out, that's probably not.
yeah, but I really think Steve. I think they learned
No, if they had
from Alpha
learned,
One.
if he had learned, he would not given a date 6 months out. I mean, or even an
Well, my
expectation of a date 6 months out. That's not the way game development works.
my point
They
being that
might make it.
they felt, I think, ready at that point, but they wanted more time. So, anyways, the Bard. What do you expect? Do you?
Okay, so wait. If they felt ready at that point, Brian would have been able to give a date last week instead of saying, I hope next month, and he would have been more confident about giving a date at the end of this month rather than saying, I hope I'll have enough information to be able to give a date at the end of the month. So no, they were not ready to go 6 months ago.
I guess we'll just have to watch on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing that I'm kind of wondering about is what did they actually need to complete before they can even start Alpha 2? What are the things that they're still waiting on? What are the things that they want to make sure are ready for player facing side? What is it that still needs to be done or is potentially on a release or cut list for the first edition of, did I just call it A1, A2? What it's going to take to get everything at least ready to go to a point like you don't necessarily need to have max level on day one because people are going to take longer than 1 day to get there. But there's only a certain amount of corners you can cut and things that you can withhold before you're essentially breaking too many systems just to be able to get it out the door. So I understand where they want to get as many of the things as functional as possible and where that's at, what that's going to look like, how much more difficulty is going to go into that task. I've got no idea. That might be part of the reason why it's so difficult to determine when there's going to be a date known for the release because there's so many things that are still in a state where it could be like magic bullet fix and wrapped up in like 2 days because there's some solution that just like clicked and did everything it needed to do versus something that that very same thing could end up taking 2 sprints. I'm guessing they're doing sprints, like a 2-week sprint sort of thing. So 2 sprints to wrap something up. That's an abysmal amount of time it would take to have to find the solution for something, and would definitely weigh down on how much time it would take to be able to fully verify that everything's working and everything else tied to it is working before it's going to be determined to be in some sort of a not release ready state, but alpha 2 release ready state. So it'll be interesting to see. It'd be nice to know. Maybe I should ask again, anybody in chat who hasn't asked a question on the forums, you could always ask what are the things that need to be completed before alpha 2 is ready to go. Maybe they'll actually tell us about those things.
Well, I mean, at this point, they're not going to tell us. What we really need to know is what was the plan 6 months ago, and what are we going to get? What are we really going to get when they open it up? I was expecting to have some augments, and we haven't seen augments yet. We have what? 2 more dev streams to see augments. Is that right? This one is barred, and then we have 2 more, and then we'll be outside of Q3.
Unless they decide that augments aren't even going to be in alpha 2 at release, and it's going to be one of the things that they put in afterwards.
That's my point. I think 6 months ago, we were supposed to have augments. As of now, I'm pretty sure.
I just want to say, when we talked to him, did he say that was A2
sure.
entry?
I'm pretty sure. But we know they've been doing a lot of server meshing work. Again, I was expecting we would be able to see Dunir. We haven't seen the new Dunir in the game in 3 years. I mean, if you can't do that seems like a problem. But
So you're saying you would think A2 should have augments. What about, so how many races?
I would think it would not take 2 years to reconvene the to revamp Dunir and get them in the game. But we might see that. Hopefully, we'll see that on Wednesday. We saw Dunir in the little teaser image of Bards, so maybe. That, and I think there was a third thing. I mean, I guess it's just making sure that they get Bard in. It's interesting though because Rogue. So what's not in? Is it Rogue and Summoner that's not in? What's not in?
Correct.
And Rogue, we were supposed to get a glimpse at Rogue at, I think, for A1. Rogue was supposed to be in for A1. So that's another one that's I'm kind of curious about why that's taking so long, since I think we were even supposed to get a little bit of that for Apocalypse.
They want to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they keep saying.
I've watched some streams that have pointed out some interesting things about, what was present in Alpha 1 when it comes to some of like races and things, and sort of what expectations are for Alpha 2. The thought being, well, if they were in Alpha 1, why aren't we seeing them now in Alpha 2?
What was in Alpha 1?
Because they became the Nikua, which we might see.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back, but this is where I still say there's 3 distinct games that have been made at this point. You had APOC, which was different from Alpha 1, which is now different from Alpha 2. So hopefully we are on the right track. I think we are, so that we don't have a 4th iteration later on. So did they say how long this alpha was going to be? No, but I think you should plan on it being quite a long time. Yeah, it is perpetual, meaning it's going to turn into the test server. So the server itself will never go away. It will most likely go down. It will most likely have wipes at times. I'm still not entirely sure what perpetual, when they say that, what that means. I think some people expect it to be up 24/7. In my mind, perpetual just means the server itself, it just continues. So, it becomes the test server, but I don't know. So,
I hope it does not stay up 24/7, because I don't think that's sustainable while they're working on, the main game.
well, I hope not either. I think back to Crowfall, although some people have, I think, rightfully pointed out Crowfall was not a very good game when it released. Which was probably part of the problem. But once it hit its beta stages and its release, nobody really gave a shit because everybody that wanted to play test it already had for like 2 years. So, oh, beta, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so I agree. With Ashes, that I hope it's not 24/7. I hope there are sprints, but
Yeah.
But yes, I would expect Alpha, Vladis says 2 to 3 years minimum. I would honestly think that's, I would not say that's extreme. I would say above 3 years is extreme, and under 1 year is extreme, would be my thoughts.
The claim that they're going to be working through alpha until the game is effectively closing in on being feature complete, at which point they'll wrap up any loose ends they need to, and then start making the move towards beta 1. And so beta 1 and beta 2, I believe, is where a lot more of the tuning is going to be going on. While Alpha 2 is where a lot more of the major bug breakage, bug testing, fixing, and systems slowly coming online and then needing to be retested by the players at large, because who knows what accidentally might have gotten broken or non-functional with all the changes that keep on going one after the other. Hopefully nothing. Hopefully nothing's broken, but you never know. So that is something that we will be experiencing during Alpha 2. That's one of the reasons why it's very much Alpha 2 is testing first and gameplay second. I would say Beta 2 is probably where it's a lot more gameplay and a lot less testing by that point. So it's gonna be what it's gonna be. It'll be interesting seeing all the features go online. I think for the people that are really enthusiastic about the game, it's the feedback they'll be able to provide to help the team kind of get better guidance and opinions on how the systems are working, what's good, what's bad. If people are making claims, they can take the time to put internal metrics in to see if these claims are true or not, or if the person just, remembers the trauma of every rare situation where this thing happens, but it's not happening 100% all the time. Like they said, it's just, a rare occurrence and they just remember when the bad things happen. So, that's that's the thing that these it's there's going to be a lot of it, a lot of interesting stuff going on. I'm going to stop ranting because I think Bard is maybe also a subject I'd like to talk about today.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Mhm.
for the third time, the Bard. As the show title says, tune twisting or bust. For those of you um, who are unfamiliar with EverQuest because you're not old men like us, EverQuest Bard, which I think was the OG Bard, um, the best Bard type, anyways, was vanilla EverQuest. Had a system of what was called tune twisting. So they, your Bard had different songs that it would play, melodies, and each one did a different thing. Mana boost, health boost, speed boost. You could debuff enemies, buff your friends, your party members, and each one had a certain length of time to where you could. Usually, I think it was four. You could kind of twist in four different melodies to give all of these various different buffs or debuffs depending on the situation. Sounds a little crazy. I think now what they do is they have melodies. So they've taken away the manual. You literally had to manually like press 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, or macro it or something like that. But I know it sounds crazy. It was actually a lot of fun. Of course, EverQuest also did not have active combat, so it was easier to do when you were also just auto attacking. Um, but it was actually a lot of fun. And now the current EverQuest, they do melodies, so they actually just have everything macroed for you, which not as cool. But the Bard, that is what I would love to see for me. I don't think that's what we're going to get. I know Fupo really enjoyed tune twisting as well. It was an experience. Maybe it's one of these nostalgia things that if I had to do it today, it would suck. I don't know. But nobody's ever really redone that in a modern version. There's been bards in other MMORPGs. I don't think any that's been done as well as OG EverQuest. So I would love to see it updated, something to that degree where you could play various different melodies kind of on repeat and change things in and out based off of the dynamics of the combat or whatever's happening. But that would be my one love for a bard. Diggs, you are mentioning D&D.
Mhm. No, because somebody said that they want bards to yodel, and I said in D&D my bards rap instead of yodel, but
So
I
what do
did
y'all
come up
want?
with
What would you like to see?
I would like to see them having a lot of things that are narrative interactive, that a lot of their things are actually not just limited to combat. In fact, things that are able to be done for more social or interactions, things you can do in town, things you can do. If there's an event, like for example, you stumble across a funeral, that you can choose to play, special music for the event, and be able to get new opportunities and things that open up from doing that, and then maybe talking to some of the people afterwards, or they come to talk to you or whatever. I don't know if NPCs have the ability to approach players and talk to them. I hope they do, but so far I haven't seen that demonstrated. But anyway, being able to help with gathering and uh, maybe even processing and crafting related sort of stuff, potentially giving bonuses to different sorts of activities. Maybe they specialize in surveying, so there's a song they like to sing that helps them get a better sense of the minerals and stuff in the area, and other people that are around kind of get that buff too. So they can kind of spot up some of the better places in the area and what's rich and dense, and what's starting to get a little worn down, and it's an area that people need to kind of chill on for a little bit. That'd be an interesting mix of kind of bard and surveying, but really just being able to have a lot of specificity to the activities that you do in particular. Um, Something, if you're protecting a caravan, being able to do things where you get an extra synergy if you stay within the radius of the caravan, where you buff it and it buffs you, and you amplify each other's radius or something. Really cool stuff like that would be interesting. Being able to assist with speeding up summoner rituals, or perhaps enhancing summoner rituals in different ways. That sort of stuff that I'd really like to um, see them be able to do. Perhaps things that are more than just playing music. I know someone had mentioned wanting to have a bard that does something other than play an instrument, because they're worried that it's going to get really annoying, repetitive over time to keep hearing, music playing constantly, and doodly doo, doodly doo, doodly doo,
We'll
doodly
be
doo.
hearing music playing constantly. It just won't be in-game music. It's going to be the VoIP heavy metal streaming from people's bedrooms.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be muting them, of course, but um, other than that, yeah, no,
What so if bards have this stuff to do at funerals, what are the clerics doing at funerals other than resurrecting the dead people? Um
At the funeral.
may,
That seems like the
maybe
worst time to
I'm
do
maybe
that.
rites and ceremonies.
saying what are the other classes and archetypes doing
I
at the
mean,
Yeah.
funeral?
if you're waiting
Well,
until the funeral to res somebody, that seems wrong. So
I could see clerics aiding in funerary rites. I don't know what,
In what
like a
way?
fighter.
In what way?
Um, I don't know. Maybe walking through the crowd, waving a censer full of some really nice smelling incense or something to help.
But you're saying
Uh,
you want
I don't know.
bards to have abilities. That's not an ability. That's just right. That's just RP. So yeah. So if that's the case, then the bard
I
wouldn't have
guess I guess
abilities that
I
would be
guess what
doing
you're
stuff. They'd
saying
just
with
be RP.
abilities, yeah, maybe it would be I don't know if there's like a short term luck blessing you can give everybody or something
It's a
for
summoner, so maybe
somebody.
they're summoning the ale, right?
Summon some doves to fly up in the air at some key point in the ceremony. I don't know.
They're turning water into wine and making bread into fishes or
No,
fishes into bread or
I think that's more what a wizard would be doing. More transmuting sort of stuff.
well, but they have to summon those. So they just summon the ale. They summon the ale and they summon the bread.
I don't know if
Um,
summoning works like that.
I can summon all kinds of stuff.
Sangria. Yeah, I guess for a funeral, that's maybe a little bit more somber than just straight ale.
And then some mage might be transmuting stuff. What would a fighter be doing at a funeral?
Helping lower the casket.
That's what a tank would be doing, right?
No, tank would be doing a shield wall. Just
Yeah.
shield wall. That's ceremonial shield wall. That's what they do.
So when the relatives try and jump on the casket, they won't be able to get to the casket.
Can I
Maybe
just
that one. I don't know.
quickly interrupt and point out one of the best lines I have ever seen? Rally round the family, pocket full of spells for a bard. Yes, please. That is fucking amazing. Sorry. Continue. I just wanted to point that out.
Indeed. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. That would be interesting to see what kind of different interactions would be available, or if not everybody has more special interactions, or if it's more of a, hey, golly, you look like a real sturdy fella. I'm not feeling well enough to be able to blah 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 because my blah blah just passed, and I still feel like crap. Could you help me do this such and such thing? And then you get asked a special thing, which again goes back to the Mage Against the Machine. Indeed. Go back to the thing I was saying earlier is I don't actually know if NPCs can approach a player and engage a conversation in a way that while the player can exit, that it's at least been engaged by an NPC. If I'm sitting, during a funeral and people are starting to get up and move around, can an NPC walk over to me and engage and open a chat box, or at least make a little prompt that says, blah 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 wants to talk to you? That's something I would really like to see, because if it's all the player starting the engagements, I don't know, it feels like there's the NPCs really don't have any agency still at that point, and that's a little funky, because I know it's not true full on like revival COE style meow that wants to do the full meow where everybody's got their whole daily cycles and their personalities and their wants and needs and everything, but um having a little bit more to the characters than that, and being able to actually initiate conversations is something that I would like to see, not just from friendly NPCs, but potentially, like, if you are all getting ready to go fight the dragon, and the dragon instead chat bubbles, everybody's like, "Whoa, hold up!" That would be an interesting sort of mechanic.
Yeah, I mean that's where we're hoping to get to someday. That was the one of the hooks for EverQuest Next with Story Bricks. I think it's still going to take us a while to get AI up there, and Ashes is not really focused that hard on that. Ashes is focused primarily on masses in combat, masses of players in combat. Um, but yeah, I wish we could have seen maybe more NPCs in the dev live streams leading up to Alpha 2. But even nodes would have been nice. We've still got two, so let's see what they do.
Or just do a
And then
restart if you got to start it from scratch. It's fine.
and I'm thinking again about Dunir and Nakua, so I would still love to see those in the game. But yeah, so I'm hoping, I guess, I don't like to do the preliminary, what are you expecting to see in the live stream? I prefer to talk about what we actually saw in the live stream. But based on what we've seen in previous ones, recent um archetype showcases, um and we should be able to see this with with bards is there's this group of thematic um, active skills that they have. Um, like there is hunts for the ranger and marks, and I forgot what the tank had, but the tank has something similar to that as well. So I'd like to see what the equivalent of that is going to be for um, bards when we're looking at their skill tree.
Yeah. I get you on that, and that'll be interesting to see um how they work in the different ways, how much of it's based on their musical component versus how much of it's presented in other ways. It'll be interesting to see.
You know, one thing that happened with the fighter, so I guess maybe it was in fighter we saw the group, and in ranger we saw the group. The fighter, one of the interesting reactions was that blood-based path, and they were, why are there vampires in ashes, and why are they able to do this? But to me, it made sense if it's being influenced by the Renkai. I would expect the Renkai to um, infuse that kind of blood system uh, as a fighter, maybe. So it could be interesting to see if one of the cultures influences bards specifically. Like since we saw that Dunir in the teaser, if Dunir did something specific to in one of the paths to kind of influence that, would be interesting to see.
Definitely. Yeah, that'll be nice to see. It'll be interesting to see what they're willing to show and what they're going to kind of pull back on a little bit in terms of not being ready or willing to show it just yet.
I'm expecting to at least see the skill tree to the same extent that we saw for fighter. And I mean, I don't know how many of the skills they'll show it. I mean, like demo, but they should at least show us the skill tree. I would imagine that's going to be a thing. We'll be able to see the paths that they're planning on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would agree. I think that has to be part of this. I think. Otherwise, it's not really a showcase. But also being so close to Alpha 2, I think this is what people want to see. With no boards, this really literally was sort of the missing piece. Where do bards fit in all of this, right? There was all sorts of
Mm,
theory crafting about the tanks and about the clerics and a battle cleric and hunters and all these or rangers and all these things. Really, the missing piece, but you can't really talk about any of these in a group setting until you have bard. So,
mhm.
I would really I hope that part of this is also actually showing some of the other classes as well, and sort of how the bard skills influence them or change aspects about them.
Mm,
I,
mhm.
I, I hope that is a part of it. If it's not, it should be.
I
As a
wonder if
support
they're
class.
gonna. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no,
And then,
sorry.
Oh, I was gonna
oh,
say, I wonder if they're gonna show one other thing during like maybe a biome or region or something that we haven't seen just yet, or a point of interest, or a town at a certain level of scale that we haven't seen just yet. It'd be nice for them to have not just the bard, but have it as part of some demonstration of something else or some other narrative sort of thing that they haven't shown off yet.
um, I think was fighter in combat against a tank when they did the fighter showcase. I think they did some form of PvP, didn't they? Or were they just battling NPCs?
Thought they were maybe dueling each other to show off the abilities and stuff.
Yeah.
Because well, I mean, I guess in terms of combat, so I was thinking like I'd like to see. Um, it has me thinking about Mentalist are there going to be? I hadn't been thinking about that before, but what are the um, negative? We've been talking about buffs, but I guess I'm thinking, what would the debuffs be? Um, and especially applying it kind of towards charisma and mental tricks. Um, but yeah, Phantom, you remind me too when you say something that's missing. I didn't play Bard, but starting with EQ, vanilla EQ is when I would play Druid a lot. And I think it's there that I really like to have Spirit of the Wind, Spirit of the Wolf.
Do what? EQ,
Spirit of
that's
the
Druid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I always felt like I really came into my class once I leveled up to have Spirit of the Wolf. And I loved just uh that would be my greeting to people is, "Hey, I see you. Have a buff." Lots of people like to do that and have them pay, but I'm a commie hippie, so I give stuff out for free. Um, but yeah, we don't have Druid doing that kind of stuff, and we don't have EQ2 had the Mentalist, so I think um, and so
Yeah.
Bard would kind of be incorporating all that stuff. So yeah, I can see how your buffer and debuffer would really be missing. That's kind of interesting.
What I also think is super interesting with this is as the main support. I mean, one of the things I used to do in EverQuest, or well, not really EverQuest too, but in EverQuest, you'd sit in central areas, Plane of Knowledge or Nexus, whatever, where people would come to each expansion, and you'd hand out buffs, right? Here's your buff. Here's this. This is 60 minutes, or they'd pay you for it. Kodiak's what is it? Kodiak's Endless Intellect, which was the big thing enchanters gave for your mana regen. But here you have a bard who conceivably, as a support, they're not going to hand out anything. They have to travel with you in order for you to get those buffs. So, which is an interesting sort of design choice, because we've not really seen anything else in any of the other class showcases, right? That necessarily would count as like a buff for a group. Which is something even World of Warcraft, right? People can give you a buff as you run along. That's pretty normal. And this is just different because you have a song that presumably gives that buff. So you can't really just run by, give somebody something beneficial and keep going, because it would apparently run. I would assume would disappear when the song ran out.
I don't know that.
I don't know that either. I'm just, everything we've seen so far, and as the only support class, I mean, that as a bard, I mean, I wouldn't think they would be able to give you something that persists. Maybe, I guess, maybe they boost your morale and it persists even when they leave. But I don't know, it's just an interesting thought that you don't have that sort of persistent buffer outside of group or raid settings.
Yeah. Actually, there's some questions about. I mean, I'm just gonna start going into the questions here if you guys are all right with that.
Sure.
These are some of the ones from the forums that were asked for this week, and I figured, might as well talk about them a little bit here. So, Exiled Ranger kind of asked two questions, and one of them was for last. So two is two, and you won't get it answered. Someone else did ask it as one though, Alessandria. So the question, how does the bard augment the other primary archetypes? And I think the answer is you'll maybe see that later when we've got more about augments. So probably not going to be answered. We have a question from Phantom
Well, I
X
just
that
want to wait.
two.
I want
Oh,
to chime
go
in. I
ahead.
want to chime in there because that's kind of a fascinating thing. They haven't talked about what schools the various primary archetypes would have. We can guess some of them. I know we do know for cleric, we know there's the life school and the death school. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit fascinating to think about what schools would fall under Bard. Um, And then I would think that would also reflect the the active skills. So yeah, maybe once we see the skill tree for the active skills, we'll be able to kind of guess what the schools for the secondary archetypes would be. So
You're getting some
Yeah.
schools in chat: Easy E and WO, old school.
mhm.
So there's the question you have about tune twisting. So yeah,
Yeah, we've
we
kind of already covered that, but
cover that one.
I don't think it'll be there, but we'll see.
I asked my question. We already covered that. Antar asks if there's a way to be a DPS bard with a strong offensive CC and references the Swords bard from Baldur's Gate 3, which College of Swords from 5th edition. Yeah, it's cool, you know, but I don't think that's exactly how they're modeling their bards.
Any archetype can use any weapon, so there's probably a way for you to do that. And especially if you do um bard rogue, uh and then mm, you might want to play around and see which race might help you accomplish that best. But yeah, there's probably a way to do a DPS bard.
Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be kind of weird. But how
It
much
should be
DPS?
weird. That's the point of an RPG. You're supposed to do weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, as a support class, but I guess the same argument can be made with me trying to turn a cleric into something, right? That's more DPS
That's the
focused.
point of the RPG is you're supposed to be able to customize and still be able to make viable stuff. Not just do cookie cutter builds.
They said CC on that, right? I'm assuming they're meaning crowd
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
It's another interesting one. Yeah, whether bards
No,
get the
strong offensive credit cards.
whether they get the ability to lull or mez or whatever. That'll be interesting to see as well.
Mhm.
There's so much AoE though. I can't imagine CC is going to be a huge focal point, but we'll see.
Well, you try to have your people not do it, or you use that to pick off the things they're trying to come to at the group from, a different angle or whatever. We have one here. Relamus asks if bards will have unique abilities and mechanics to support large scale battles. Yeah, the more of your allies within the radius, the more you're buffing your allies. I don't think it's going to be something where bards are doing like a area wide sort of thing that's covering the entire battlefield. Maybe that's something you could do, is that you and 4 other bards get together, you get some materials, you build a stage, and then you start playing. And then while you're up there playing, you're giving buffs, and you got to have people down below protecting it so your stage doesn't get knocked over and you don't get raided or, overwhelmed by other players or whatever. And yeah, that could be a fun, interesting sort of thing. But I don't know. It'll be nice to see if they talk about anything like that.
Yeah, I hope bards or clerics,
Maybe
some
it's
class can give out some kind of a 30-minute buff. That would be nice.
a giant megaphone on a cart, and you've got to have 4 bards that push it along while singing a quartet, and then that like blasts in a cone towards the area that you're trying to buff or debuff or whatever.
I'd love to see group bards amplify each other.
Mhm.
Although I guess you'd have to be very careful with making them too overpowered. You just have a group of 8 bards, but
I mean, if summoners can summon a golem, then bards should be able to form a choir and do some pretty interesting stuff.
everyone keeps asking about fishing. We all went fishing. I love fishing. I have nothing that I can tell you about fishing. Sorry.
Top Wombat asks if a non-musical bard will exist, and they're worried that playing music all the time will get annoying. Well, if I go to like 5e Pathfinder, which is some of the routes that the game is looking at as well, rules is written is that you're using a musical instrument as your spell focus. So while I like the idea of a bard going out there with a quill pen and a sketch pad in there, drawing things that cause events to occur around them, I don't think this is the kind of bard sort of thing. In fact, that actually sounds more like a summoner, like the that girl Realms from Final Fantasy VI that would draw a copy of the enemy character and then it would attack them.
Non-musical bards play country music. That's hilarious.
Oh,
and sing at the
oh
national
man,
anthem.
oh man.
So yeah,
Well
I don't think you
played.
can have a non-musical bard. I think a bard has to have some form of music. And I think well, poetry, yeah, but you have to recite the poetry. I mean, I think it's not just writing the poetry. I think you have to actually recite it.
I would DOP crew. I love that idea too. I'm envisioning one fighter and his own personal soundtrack band, just watching, a fighter just knocking everything over, killing everyone as there's his band behind him just playing away. That would be wonderful to see. We have come up with like so many different versions of like role playing mixing with gameplay here in the last hour. It's amazing. So
All right. And then I did actually mention though I would love to have a megaphone crooner for a bard.
bards
It can
play
just
this.
it can just be nonsense, but it's just out there.
Yeah, I'd have to turn that off.
Yeah. No, that would be
What would be
that would be
interesting?
my style.
What would be interesting to see too is whether there's any sort of ability to allow kind of your own music. You think of Lord of the Rings online, and they have entire groups that are, bands that will play once a week, and you can go watch them play, and they're actually playing, through the game. I wonder if anything like that would ever be possible within Ashes of Creation, or if that's just stretching things too thin with everything else they already have to do. I imagine you would also have to worry a little bit about copyright and stuff like that, but I would love to see something like that.
So somebody it was a Chock-a-Block Daft. Seemed like they were asking if bards have special skills or abilities as orators to tell and create stories for people to circulate and possibly accept as fact or superstition. That sounds like a cool and interesting way to engage with NPCs. So maybe you tell a tale at the funeral or something. And it's like some parable or something, and it's like, okay, I did a thing, and now people are gonna give me like a quest. I hope. I don't know. I'm just a bard at a funeral, mashing buttons.
Here we go with funerals again.
Yeah, well, that's the example they gave.
So did we come up with a role for every class? You said the bard plays the music.
Well, I'm not going back to that.
Going back to that. All right.
You can watch that part earlier
forward
in the show if you care.
The summoner summons pancake batter.
Yes, there you go. Storyteller AOC asks if bards - rogues will be able to disguise themselves as others. I don't really know the extent to which they mean, like if you were going to impersonate yourself as like an NPC, or like try to make yourself look like a zombie and like Walking Dead your way through a graveyard.
I
No
think
idea.
though, I think that sounds closer to something I would expect from um a social org, like the Thieves Guild. Um, but Rogue Bard is a charlatan. I don't know if the names have something to do with that. Then maybe a Rogue Bard would have a combination of things that would give them disguise self or something like that. I
I
don't
don't know.
think it would.
Charlatan makes me think more of like a snake oil salesman for whatever reason.
Uh-huh. Bard Rogue is trickster, so maybe there might be
Yeah,
some
and Gall
combos that
Maybe,
mentioned
would allow
maybe
for
more
that.
like that.
yeah, Gall mentioned Steven. Steven has mentioned disguises before, so
Yeah, I just don't know if it's coming from classes or if it's coming from the social orgs, like the Thieves Guild.
or items.
So, Helic asks if they've seen how Dark and Darker does bards, which I guess it sounded like it was a little bit of a mini gamey sort of thing. The answer might secretly be yes, but for legal reasons, I would imagine the answer is no. So
Oh,
that will probably not get answered neither during the show nor afterwards in the didn't get your questions answered. That's my guess. Um, Flips asks if bards can apply long-lasting and customizable buffs to players who observe their performances in a tavern. Zeph asks a similar question without mentioning Star Wars Galaxies.
but doesn't New World have something like that? That doesn't their don't their songs give some buffs?
That must have been
Yeah,
something after I came through because I don't remember any
yeah,
of
they do.
that.
They do.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
New
All
World
right.
actually, I have no complaints about how they implemented music.
Good on you.
It's actually I think done fairly well. Um, different instruments, different rhythms. You actually have to be on. I don't really see it as a mini game either. I mean, it almost feels like you're trying to play an instrument, kind of like on. I don't know if you ever played Rock Band or Guitar Hero or any of those things in the past, but you're trying to hit your beats and you have to be accurate.
Hmm.
And then yes, if you do well, it gives a buff of certain duration, and then also the people that are within your um
Area of effect,
yeah,
basically.
they can give you tips, so you can
Oh
have
yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
pop up,
Hmm.
do you want a tip or not? So
Hmm.
it's actually I again I think they've done that very well. So
Ah,
Yeah.
that
some
was actually the second question that one of the person asked earlier was if you can tip your bard. But again, they asked two questions, so they won't get one answered.
oh, they asked two questions, they won't get any answered.
Yeah, that's right. That's
That's
why.
lesson number one. Come on, people.
But somebody else asked the other, the first part of the question too. So that's why that one got answered, or might get answered.
I wonder if bards will fight each other for tavern space.
Or if they just automatically gain a bonus for performing around other bards or
Like,
something.
do they have to duel for the privilege to be at the tavern? Um, you come here to Nashville, people to get a spot in any little local pub or bar or restaurant. I mean, it's hard. You have to fight. So, and since we aren't going to have very many taverns, player run, anyways.
Okay. Azure seems to be asking if bard buffs diminish over time if the bard is not online. So I mean that's a question again about the long lasting buffs, kind of in a different sort of way. But yeah, if they're going to give a buff that you get from observing them perform, and it's a long lasting sort of buff. Yeah, cool. I don't know whether the bard being online or not would make any difference in that. It would just start diminishing or have a timer or whatever, as it would.
So after you, oh, but they have to be offline. You can't just kill them. Okay.
All right, keep kicking the camera. Kicking the camera.
You think so? Ivy says, I think all buffs should go away once the caster dies or goes offline.
See,
I don't.
once they die or go offline. So yeah, kick them and then kill them.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, conceivably, if you have a bard that's giving a buff, they have inspired you. They have given you morale. They have done something in their music that has made you feel or become a certain way. And should that depend? If they then leave and they go die,
No.
I might not even be aware.
Active buff.
The music does
If
die,
they're-
but how
if
often?
they're-
I just want to comment.
Yeah.
The music dies, of course, but like even when you listen to a song and the song ends, you still can hear it in your head.
You remain inspired. You can still feel the emotion for quite a while after. It's not like you walk out of a concert and you're just like, oh.
Which, if we're talking about magic, I think is different from like a priest that gives you a spell that they cast. I could see that maybe going away when the spellcaster dies.
I mean, I would expect clerics to be able to inspire people for long after they leave an area. Like you walk out of church, you don't just automatically immediately go back to exactly the way you were. Hopefully, you were inspired while you were there, and you remain inspired at least for the rest of the day or a couple hours.
Yeah, I would only imagine the active buffs from being in the radius of a bard who is actively buffing you. Those will go away the moment they fall. Should have been like making sure their healer was healing them. You should have been getting the enemies off of them. Now they're dead. Now they're not buffing everyone. Now you're in trouble. Dig it. That's probably the kind that's going to be more where the buff shut off, not if the player goes offline or dies.
Rory
So-
says, "What if the bard had a mega song that would super inspire after death? Remember the first Avenger movie? How the Avengers didn't get serious until Agent Coulson died. Mega buff.
Okay.
Maybe a group of bards could give a mega buff. Actually,
Maybe.
that would be a fun way
That'd be fun.
That would be a fun mechanic for Node Wars or for declaring sieges, that you have your bards all stand and they give your entire town a buff or something like that.
So Zayer asks if different instruments do different songs that have different effects or combat/casting modifiers when used, which I hope so. I hope it's not, well, you're playing the drums, but it's just a stat stick. Well, now you're playing a flute, but it's just a stat stick. Well, now you're playing a lute, but it's just a stat stick. I would definitely hope that they have different features, whether it's a damage type or damage affinity, whether it changes what sort of element you're using, whether it changes the sort of buffs or debuffs that your abilities produce. That's the sort of things that I'm hoping to see. I'm definitely not hoping to see, well, it's a different instrument, it has better attributes than the one that you're using. Just use this and deal with the way it sounds. Like that's less satisfying if they're just stat sticks with a different soundtrack.
Do you think the instrument should matter?
Yeah, it should definitely matter.
Diggs is making a face.
Well, any archetype can use any weapon, so there's going to be some stuff that the bard is
But I
doing
don't.
that's not going to require an instrument. There's going to be some stuff that they do that will require an instrument, and there's going to be some stuff that they do that they can do with the sword or sword and shield or axe or whatever. So we'll just have to again see the way that plays out.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just thinking, like buff strength, buff length, debuff. Does it depend on the type of instrument, the quality of instrument?
Again, I think that's going to be skill specific. So there will be kind of like I think in the same vein as a tank needing to have a shield to do a shield bash, you're going to have some stuff like that, but not everything is going to require a specific weapon. So I think yes. And then, that would be the same quality of your instrument would be true even if you're a mage using a harp or a didgeridoo or whatever
if they can use
instrument
it.
you're using. Any archetype can use any weapon, which means they can use
But we
an
don't know that
instrument too.
instruments are weapons. I mean, Stephen has already given us the list of weapons.
I think we pretty much know that.
I'm not so sure. I mean, he gave us the list of weapons
Okay.
for A2, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did on a stream.
Okay.
Am I making that up? I swear he did.
No, it was given at some point. So the next question, we're getting down to the last few here. Songrune asks if friendly or allied NPCs also get bard buffs. I sure hope so. That'd be really lame if they can't, especially for escort quests. All right, I've got a buff that gives everybody 200% run speed while they're near me. And let's do this. Oh, I'm sorry. I only walk and I only walk at 1.0. My integer is a fixed number. It won't change. Let's go for a slow stroll, Shunny.
Mhm.
That's the part that really sucks is if you can't actually provide those buffs to NPCs. If you're doing a caravan event, you've got NPCs walking along with you, their survival is part of the success of the event or whatever. You can't buff them. That sucks. That absolutely sucks. So no, I definitely hope that bards are able to buff NPCs who are friendly to them and not have any limit in that. Are the bard buffs party only? I don't think so. I think everybody who was friendly or grouped.
Yeah, I'm not
I don't
aware of.
know. I don't know if everybody who's not harmful to you nearby gets it until they try to smack you. That'll be interesting to see. I would imagine at the very least, party raid. We get it.
Yeah, I have not heard of anything where buffs are group or party specific.
I get the feeling that it's going to be an area sort of thing, but then if
Or
it's an
target.
allies,
You could do
yeah, or
single
target.
target too.
Yeah. I'm singing about you over there, Goblin number 3.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, wondering if it's raid wide or party wide. And Gall says, yeah, it would be awkward if it was party only. Then Proxy says make positioning matter. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you could take this. That's very interesting.
Positioning is supposed to matter.
I don't know if any of that was connected, but it was connected in my head. So, in chat.
All right. So we've got Wild Animal asks if bards will have raid buffs specific to PvP, PvE, and naval content. And then they squeeze in the double question of, and how long do they last? Well, I would imagine for PvP, PvE, and naval content, if it isn't one where they apply it and it's a long-term thing, then it's going to be everybody nearby, and that's it. I could see it being a ship-wide thing. Maybe they put you in the crow's nest, and you get to blast out to as far as like 2 ships radius or something.
I hope they don't make for any of the classes, this whole idea of doing something different for PvP than for PvE. Just mix skills. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
see different balancing and all this stuff that goes into trying to do one for one group and one for another group. It's like just make a class and let it balance itself out.
Well, but it becomes problematic when you have concepts like the tank is supposed to taunt, but you can't really that works for PvE, but it doesn't really work for PvP because right, you
I
can
mean, the folks that played tank in No Wars thought it was actually
no,
good.
but you have to no, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying that it's a tricky thing. You have to like finesse that to work. It's not just as easy as it sounds because um, you know, players play differently than AI. So yeah, it can be done, but you have to specifically
Yeah, I
finesse that.
mean, yeah, but then you just have to decide whether bringing a tank to PvP makes
Mhm.
sense.
But
Shield
that
wall.
question. Wait. That question had me thinking about effects on other people, and this isn't just PvP. This is even NPCs hitting me with stuff. So freaking me out the first time I got hit by blind, and my computer screen just went black, and I was like, "What just happened? Did my computer die in the middle of combat?" Um, and uh, It also reminds me of Landmark, the drunken state, where your screen goes all blurry and stuff like that. So yeah, I would love to see bards be able to have effects, PvP effects on people. That would be a cool. Maybe like blind is a nice one to get hit with in PvP, but a bard making somebody drunk, that could be a fun one to get hit with by a bard. Um, so uh, that wouldn't necessarily be different than an NPC, but you're probably going to pick and choose some of what these work better for PvP. These work not so good for PvP. I'll save these for PvE. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Core drunkenness. That yes. Or
Football wants
you
to.
can also use that spell to get everybody tanked in a tavern and make a real party out of it.
And steal from them.
Football wants an active skill that will turn me into a PvPer.
Now we know
Well,
that's just going to happen naturally.
that will exist, but it's going to be somewhere on your battle pass, and I don't know if you're going to get that far in it.
Anything that will get me a Stufferton, that'll do it. I'll do anything for a Stufferton.
A PvP for a Stufferton. There you go.
Yeah, so Steven can make you like a 50-step battle pass of your own, 49 steps, PvP, 50th Stufferton.
I would do it.
That is your end
There we go.
goal.
Here we go. Level 5, wearing rags, walking in. I'm gonna kick you in the balls. I need my Stufferton.
Mhm.
All right, we got a few more real quick. This guy Volhadis, Vladis. I believe you're in the chat. Hello, I'm just teasing. Asks what the 4 schools of augmentation for the Bard archetype will be. Bold and direct. I appreciate your approach. I would imagine we're going to see as much as they're going to reveal during the stream. But maybe they'll have to get to your question to answer the rest of it. Journey asks if bards can combine spells and music to create more powerful versions of their songs and effects. That sounds like fun. I would imagine it's the buff that you're giving your entire party that you happen to be buffing yourself with that augments you in that way, but not, I'm playing the me song right now, and now a fireball you all. No, I
I would
don't expect that would be how it works.
I would think some of that we might see some interactions between active skills and weapon play. So timing with that might be a thing. That's kind of true for most of the archetypes. So
Vanessa, oh, go ahead.
All these questions. I just want to see how the bard makes everyone else play. That is what I want to see Wednesday.
Vanessier asks if bards can play music while they aren't in combat, like to RP, etc. I would imagine as such. You want to get that one? I would imagine as such that it might be that it's the only place everybody can play an instrument is out of combat, but definitely a place bards can play an instrument out of combat, just as an RP thing. Maybe there is a buff or benefit or something. I do like the idea. I've had a bard in the past who had just like a little drum on his hip that he played. And so as we travel along or whatever, he'd just be having like a little something to keep the beat going. So all the little cantrips and stuff he was casting were, just part of this little, quiet rhythmic performance that was kind of going along as we moved along. Grilled cheese mojito. There's two left here. Grilled cheese mojito asks if line of sight or elevation affects bard abilities. Good question. Is it just a full unmitigated radius, or will some amount of blockage, you have to be fully behind a wall of a certain amount to not be able to hear the bard abilities? Do you need to just not be in their line of sight and their magic can't affect you? I mean, it's if it's sound based, I would imagine it's going to be using where the audio projectors and listeners and stuff are set up to coordinate whether it's affecting you or not.
well, line of sight sounds odd, but there will be patterns. So um, uh, it's not quite line of sight, but formations and things like that, I think, do play a part. It did have me realizing I might, I don't know that I would do painting under Bard. I don't know that I would do, I don't know that I would do um, drawing under Bard, but I might do dancer under Bard, and you might need line of sight for that. Um,
Yeah.
but uh, but yeah, if it's audio, then
That's a great
line of
question.
sight doesn't make a lot of sense.
That
But
really is a
there will
great
be
question.
formations.
Yeah, we always.
Yeah.
I mean, spells. I mean, historically, all of them, like everything you cast, everything you buff, debuff, all of that is spell based, right? So it makes sense to talk about line of sight. But yeah, that's a really interesting
When
question.
yeah, when the spell is especially if it has a somatic component, um, a lot of that makes sense. You're throwing lightning or fireballs. It's not going to go through walls necessarily. So line of sight makes more sense. But if it's audio, then it's going to be more about how the sound is working, not about how the sight is working.
That's the other thing is if like all of the uh fightery tanky sort of people have some ability where they're creating an audio radius of their own. I wonder if there's an ability to kind of nullify bard stuff a little bit if you're just going in there and casting noise. And you just keep on like, using that ability for a little bit to keep creating a sort of like sound mitigation, that you're creating enough sound that people can't hear the bard abilities going on. That'd be interesting.
Sorry, I'm just now
Maybe
realizing. Sorry, all
maybe
you
a ranger.
people on the YouTubes. For some reason, what I'm watching for chat, the messages are not actually making it there. They're making it to our screen. So I apologize. I have not been intentionally ignoring you. I've just not seen them. Sorry.
Sometimes that happens. Well, if you're playing an instrument, hitting him in the mouth isn't necessarily going to shut him up. I mean, if they're a wimp, then maybe. Actually, there were two more, but I'm not sure if we're going to go into the last one or not. Exi1 or Exi1 asked if bards get musical instrument themed weapon sets. Maybe. That sounds whimsical. But I don't think they're going to be like a bard specific thing or something that you can only ever make if you're a bard. That doesn't, I don't know about that one. Like at that point, everybody would be able to access the musical instrument themed weapons, and it just happens to be that you're a bard who's using one.
Does anyone else get presented with a new class, like when we've seen the cleric, when we've seen the fighter, and now we're going to see the bard, get super excited, more so, not so much about the bard class itself, but how secondary stuff will fit in? I almost get more excited about the idea of what is it like with a cleric and a bard, a rogue and a bard. Like, the same thought has
I don't
come to mind with cleric as well, as a secondary. I don't know. Maybe
I
that's
don't
just
get
me.
excited about it because I don't know how it works. So I'll have to see it actually do something, and then maybe I can get excited about it.
Yeah, I really don't know what to expect with Augment, so it's hard for me to get too hyped up for possibility because, until we've even seen the whole of everything all of the primary archetypes even have to offer, it's really hard to think about what the secondaries are going to do to augment them as well, from the climb from level 1 to where you get your secondary. There's going to be a lot of build mashing and trying different things in different ways and trying to figure out what works. So, when you then add on the extra layer of, you've gotten all these augments that you've already got from all your other stuff. And now you also have 8 different archetypes that you can mix and match with. It's there's going to be a whole lot. And it's going to be difficult to really see exactly how they're all going to work together without seeing how they currently will play out in a, just with augments and primary archetypes only sort of situation. The way they talked about with the leveling is that it's going to be a journey. It's not going to be a sprint. It's not going to be a marathon. So, plan on being the same level for a little while and doing a few cool kick-ass things while you're at that level. Not, all right, did a thing, next level, did a thing, next level. Hey, I'm max level already. Golly, that didn't seem like it took very long at all. That's not the pace that they're looking for, is something so fast. So that hopefully will give players a chance to, mix and match and choose between all the augmentations that they have available before kind of realizing, well, wait, the way that I play and the way that I now understand how the archetypes and how it's been described to me, how the augmentations work, I actually think this and this is going to be the better combination for me. So that'll be nice to see. I also wonder how much people are going to be starting over because they've got like 80% of what they want, but they realize the race that they chose has a different attribute distribution than the way they're trying to build. It's like, man, I can't even do this unless I roll Junior. And so, they roll the same archetype to make a different version of the character to get that final set of attributes. Anyway, I'm just going to get the last question briefly. Not going to mention the names. They got my attention saying that they didn't want female armor sets, women's armor sets to be men's armor sets with boobs, but then went on to say how they wanted it to be more sexy and hot and cute and feminine. And I'm thinking to myself, no, wait, men's armor is neutral. Like, there's nothing about it that makes it more manly or less manly. It's a utility tool, and then it's got decorations on it. Putting boob plates on that actually ruins the purpose, because then it's going to split your sternum the moment you fall over or somebody pounds you in the chest with a big old hammer, and so your metal boob plate is just going to cave in. Fabric, sure, okay. Leather, yeah, sure, whatever. Metal, no. And so even with that, like, a full suit of full metal armor is neutral. And if you need to make some augmentations for characters to be able to wear different sets of gear, despite their proportions being a bit different, that's fine. You only need to make slight differences to make them fit. Yes, DOP crew, a shelf on your chest is a bad idea in a sword fight. You are correct. So, that's something I just wanted to kind of, you guys wanted to say anything on that, go right ahead. But that's one that's like, I understand if you want your characters to look cute and sexy or whatever, there'll be customizations. You can make it pink or whatever if you want to. You can find the suits that you think are the sexiest among them and have those be the styles that you find the crafters who can make, and that's what you do. But there's really no reason to have the equipment be any different short of the fit and the cut matching the shape of the body. Run around naked. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people dancing naked on mailboxes and rooftops and other sorts of places.
I mean, wouldn't it have to have outline for boobs? I mean,
Why?
I mean, if the size, like, how would you? I'm just thinking of how you would not do that. Like,
it's armor. It's armor. Your boobs are squished against you, male or female.
Yeah, but even
be
then,
a big
it's gonna
chubby
be...
dude with big old man boobs, much bigger than mine. And when I put that breastplate on, it's just, it's going to be covering the area, and anything that's too big, it's going to kind of squish into place. It's fine.
Yeah.
Too much realism. And I wouldn't mind a big metal like cup or something like that for the men. That'd be fine.
Sure. I mean, the women can have one too. It's just, do you want something that's more out and in reach of being able to get hit by stuff or not?
A large cod piece.
That's
what
exactly.
I was thinking. Yeah, that's a big, large cod piece.
Well, I'll ask DOP crew, since you've had plenty of experience fighting in heavy armor, do you get any benefit from a giant cod piece, or is it just one more place people can whack you?
I want to see that in chat. I want to see people asking for who's the character on this server? Who's the armor smith that makes cod pieces? I want to see that be a thing in chat.
I want that one horned cod piece. You know the one.
Diggs, there was a question about a comment about whether or not you get excited by anything about this game. That you don't seem to get excited.
Yeah, I'm not going to be playing it. What's there to be excited about?
I mean, that's a direct answer, I guess. I don't know what I expected otherwise.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a
Okay.
good game. It's just not for me.
Codpiece over enchanting attempt. Where are we going with this? This is like when Jamie starts talking about PvP-ness.
I mean, I'm just gonna go throw back in the Wayback Machine when was Pixel Mage was the name of the company. What was it called? The one that Smedley and crew made before they stopped it.
Hero Song?
Yeah, Hero Song. That one actually had slots in the character sheet for like your genital and nipple piercings and stuff. So
Oh, yeah, that's right.
they were going for it, I guess, for a moment.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna want to play with you. You know that, Diggs? Like your reputation.
I will be in the game, running around, exploring. I will interact with people. I'm just not actually going to be playing systems.
We need like a Diggs watch, like that just gets updated. You know, automatic Twitter feed of where Diggs is in the game. Yes, he is going to play. He will play.
Oh yeah, he's
I'll be
gonna
in the
play.
game, exploring, and interacting with people. I just won't be doing any progression.
So you could
Anything
get
that leads to
excited.
progression.
You could get excited about the world that you're going to explore.
Maybe I have to see the world.
It's
I mean, I
well,
can show you a
what
few
we've gotten to
videos.
see is pretty, but there's a lot more than we've gotten
Yeah.
to see that we're
Yeah.
waiting for.
We'll see. Maybe I'll
Hell,
act
it
more
wasn't.
excited.
We didn't even see it the last time that we saw it. Last time we saw it in Unreal 4. It's now Unreal 5. It's going to look that
Yeah.
much better.
So
Maybe you'll see more excitement once I'm actually going through the world. And, once the NDA is lifted, then you'll actually see videos of me showing stuff, points of interest in the world. So that's when you'll start seeing some more
I'm catching
excitement,
up on some
probably.
comments. So there was a question of Skullport asked, Diggs, are you going to play a male or female character? I think I know the answer to this, but
Yeah, I'll be playing Diggs, so it'll be as close to looking like me as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm recognizable and everybody will be able to kill me who wants to kill me.
yes, there was another comment. Tia said it would be a shame if someone finds you while you're exploring and PK'd you. That
It doesn't
probably will.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna be ignoring it. I'm not doing any progression, and they'll just get as much corruption as possible. So that'll be a good thing. Kill me as much as you want.
And another question, what class are you playing?
Whatever class gives me the most stealth. But also, I'm trying to be as close to level 1 as possible, so I'm not even sure if that's gonna matter.
But that's I mean, that's not possible, right?
We
As
don't
you explore, you will gain.
Yeah, I said as close to level 1 as possible.
Minimal
Right.
intentional experience gaining.
Mhm.
So I guess just the uncovering of new areas, whatever
Mhm.
that gives you.
Seeing
I
it
think
all and seeing
think
it again.
I mean, are you going to harvest? Are you going to like pick
no.
flowers?
Nope.
Not even pick flowers.
Nope.
That's a good question too, Gall. He says some MMOs let you turn off EXP gain. I wonder if that'll be an option here.
That reminds me of when people would make their alts in WoW and then be like top of the level 29 PvP leaderboards indefinitely.
Yeah.
Until they accidentally level their character up or they won enough times that they had to get experience and whatever.
It's interesting because your EXP gain directly impacts the node gain. So turning
Oh,
it off, right?
does it?
Like what you do to gain EXP contributes to the node, right?
I thought that's just the activities. I didn't think it's actually taking a portion of your
Well,
your
it's not.
XP.
It's not taking. I'm not saying it's taking it, but it's your acts are contributing. So my thought here is just the interesting thought exercise is if like everyone turned off their EXP gain, like would that have any effect? I don't know. Oh, they're also asking, will Diggs be naked? Do you plan to wear armor?
I won't be naked. I
Starter
mean,
rags.
in EQ2, my main character only wore starter rags and leveled to 80. The armor came from weapon and jewelry that the alt made for that character, but leveled all the way to 80 in starter rags. So I do stuff like that. But no, I'm sure I'm gonna have some cosmetic that will be my signature uh, fashion choice.
Just a cod piece, an enhanced cod piece, the one that your alt made for you, along with the necklace and a pair of earrings. Lollipop staff. What?
Yeah. Diggs is gonna have a lollipop staff to ride with the stuffer tin. And what I would imagine he would find a set of pajamas at some point.
God, this is gonna be the
A
most
onesie.
crazy ass character ever made. So,
Just interesting. Somebody enjoying a game. Somebody enjoying a role playing
I
game.
don't know about enjoying, but I mean, I'll interact with
Fine.
people, sure.
Hate playing a game.
so
I'm
since
only
this
playing this so I've got things to complain about on the next episode.
since this has turned into a Diggs Q&A, anyone have any other questions for him?
Because we're 8 minutes over.
8 minutes, yeah. I guess if an hour and a half was on your show length,
I think so.
I guess so. Keeps happening.
Am I in the
I don't have to
1000?
keep on leaving in an hour spot. So that as well. The longer I wait, the more dinner's going to be ready until it's maybe actually ready, and then whatever. I don't even smell stuff hitting the pan yet.
Am
I'll go
I
straight down the hill or hall.
am
Yes,
I
Phantom and I are in. If you go to
yeah,
Discord, you'll see it.
yeah, I'm in PI, so yeah. Yeah, that had to be intentional, right? Like
I don't know.
low,
I don't know if there were limitations. I think there were
yeah.
limitations. I think there was something in Discord where they wanted to give the roles, but they couldn't do it as privately as they wanted to. So
What a waste of time to play something that you plan to not enjoy. It's a great statement.
I'm going in to interact with people who want to interact with me in the game. I said I'm not playing, and people said, no, we want you to play. So I'll jump in and interact with people, but um, I'll when I want to play an RPG for fun, I'll be playing some other game that better suits my playstyle.
You're just waiting for what is it? Ghost?
Ghost, yes. Of course, I'm having fun. There's lots of stuff. Even WoW, I'm having fun with. I was having fun with. There's so many games out that I enjoy playing now. WoW, I went to New World. I've been playing Lego Fortnite. It just jumped back into No Man's Sky. There's plenty of other
I
games that
downloaded
suit
the
my
update on
playstyle.
that. I might actually play it.
hmm
Yeah, I've been playing the hell out of No Man's Sky. Anyone that owns it, which is probably most people, if you've not touched it for years, you should really jump in. It's actually turned into quite a great game, and leads me to probably the only thing that would take me from Ashes of Creation at this point in my mind is Light No Fire, depending on how good it is. If Light No Fire has the sort of scope and just everything that No Man's Sky has been able to put in, but simplified down into one world and
And
including
a little bit more multiplayer.
Yep,
Mhm.
and including more high fantasy and including, you know, NPC interactions and all these things that you're used to in an MMO in an RPG. That could end up being one badass game. I mean, they have some really good tech that they use. So,
Mhm.
and actually, some of what they're using for what they've developed for Light No Fire is
Light
now
No Fire.
in No Man's Sky. When they've
Mhm.
talked about like the water and the cloud updates and some of these other things. So.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
all right. We are over. So we appreciate everyone hanging out with us, and I think we'll be here next week. I don't know why we wouldn't. We'll hopefully have a lot more information about the bard.
Oh, I might be in Dallas, but I'll bring my laptop with me.
All right.
Dancing?
No, visiting a
No,
high school buddy.
maybe dancing. All right.
Just not
So
on Sunday.
just not on Sunday.
Mm.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone joining us on Twitch and on YouTube, and anyone who watches this afterwards. And we will be back next Sunday at the same time. I'm looking to see.
I might stream on my own channel. I don't think I'm going to do a 40-hour stream for my somewhere between 25th and 50th birthday, but I might stream a bit. Somebody has put me on the challenge of checking out Book of Hours and seeing how far I can get without having to look anything up or get guidance from people. So I might stream a little bit. It wouldn't be on here. It would be on Legendary Neurotoxin. Did you find someone you want to send the party to?
Yes, actually, our good friend that now goes by, how do you say it? Ludulu? Ludulu? How does he say it? I don't know how he says it. Is actually currently streaming. So we are going to raid him. And he is talking about, well, it's set to Ash's Equation, talking about bards and L2. So we will raid him. Yeah, and then we will see you all back next Sunday. And I will also try to stream on Theory Forge. I actually did stream some Pantheon, and I said I would get back to it. And this last work week was a pain in the ass, so I didn't get to. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get to this time, or some No Man's Sky. So,
Mm.
all right, we will send our raid, and yeah, I've also started to do some more long form YouTube videos. So certainly, I'm looking for suggestions. If you have anything you'd like to see me do, just let me know. And I'm trying to perfect that craft. So, all right, y'all. We will see you next time. It's
Take
raid.
care. Have a good one.